Do you have a deposition coming up? Are you wondering what even is a deposition? We'll talk about the basics of deposition in this video, so stay tuned. Hi there, my name is Katherine. I'm a lawyer and I think differently. What is a deposition? A deposition is an informal process to get your testimony under oath and under penalty of perjury. Under penalty of perjury means that if you lie, by law, the court can order you some serious consequences for lying under oath. Those consequences can include large fines, meaning you have to pay money, you can go to jail, and your credibility will be significantly affected or ruined if you lie under penalty of perjury. Where does the deposition even take place? Because the deposition is an informal process, it usually takes place outside of the court. It doesn't have to happen inside the court. In fact, most of the depositions happen outside of the courthouse. That's because the deposition can happen anywhere. Your deposition could be here in a large conference room, or here, or here, or even here. Basically, it can happen anywhere that the court reporter can set up his or her equipment to take your testimony under oath. How is the deposition even taken? Your testimony will be taken either in person or via Zoom. Before the pandemic, most of the depositions were done in person. And when it's done in person, it could be with or without a videographer, meaning that your deposition can be videotaped or not videotaped. After the pandemic, depositions are now taken mostly via Zoom. So you can be at home or at your office or anywhere that's comfortable in a good environment for you, not to be distracted at all, and just log on your computer and use the Zoom link that they will send you so that you can be on Zoom during your deposition. When is a deposition taken? If you watch my other video as to the 3 stages that happens after a car accident, then you'll know that one of the stages is the lawsuit. And if you want to watch that video more in detail, I'll put a link in the description below so you can watch it at a more convenient time for you. But for now, just know that deposition happens during a lawsuit. What happens is, at some point during the lawsuit, the other party will want to take your deposition and will tell your lawyer that they want to take your deposition. As to when the exact date of the deposition will be, everyone will try to coordinate and come up with a date and time that is convenient for everyone, especially you. They want to make sure you're okay with the date and time and that you can actually have your deposition taken at that selected date and time. Here's a tip for you. When your deposition date and time has been set and it is not convenient for you, make sure to speak up. Don't freak out. Make sure to tell the lawyer of the party that's asking for your deposition or your lawyer that that date and time doesn't work for you. You could have school, you can have work, you might be picking up or dropping off your kids to or from school, but make sure you speak up. Just because the lawyer said that they want to take your deposition at a particular date and time doesn't mean it's set in stone. They will be willing to work with you as long as you tell them that you're not available at that date and time. And then tell them what date and time works best for you. So remember, make sure that the date and time is available for you. And second, if it's not, tell them why not. And third, give them an alternative date and time that works for you. That way, the other people who are attending your deposition can look at their calendar and organize around the date and time that works for you. How long is your deposition? It really depends on where you're located at and what law applies. For example, I'm licensed in California, and in California, the limit for your deposition is up to 7 hours. I'm also licensed in Texas, and the limit for Texas is up to 6 hours. So that means that your deposition can take up to 7 hours if California law applies, or or 6 hours if Texas law applies. So it really depends on where you're located at and what law applies. That doesn't mean that your deposition has to be 7 or 6 hours long. It just means that the lawyers have up to that time frame to ask you questions. How long the deposition will be depends on a lot of factors. For example, whether or not there are a lot of objections during the deposition, how long are your answers to the questions, how long are the breaks, how many breaks have been taken during the deposition, how long is the lunch time, because those things, breaks and lunches and arguments off the record, are not included in the time limit that's given to you. Here's another tip that you need to know about. When you're scheduling the date and time that works for you, make sure you consider the time limit of your deposition. That's why ask the lawyer who's asking for your deposition, or ask your lawyer, how long is my deposition going to be? That way you know when to schedule your deposition and how much time you need to give yourself for that deposition. Who will be at your deposition? Since it's your deposition, you're obviously going to be in the deposition. Another person would be your lawyer if you have a lawyer. Also, the lawyer who requested your deposition and who will be asking you a question will be there as well. If there are other parties in the lawsuit, meaning there are other people involved in the lawsuit, then their lawyers will be there as well to ask you questions. Your job will be to answer their question. Another important person, and I would argue that he or she is the most important there in addition to you, and that is the court reporter. The job of the court reporter is to type out everything that happens at the deposition, all the questions, all the answers, all the objections, when the break happens, any other argument that happens on the record. And when they say on the record, that means that the court reporter put it down and transcribed it so that that can be used later on for any purposes such as at the trial. If the discussion is off the record, the court reporter doesn't type anything out. And so that's what that means. Another person who might be at your deposition is the videographer. If your deposition is in person and it's being recorded, then the videographer will be there to record your testimony, and you will be the only one being recorded. The other people in the room will not be recorded. Your video will be recorded so that it can be used at a later time, whether at trial or for any other purposes, to determine your credibility, which means people will watch that video to determine how you testify and whether or not you're telling the truth. That's why it's important to go ahead and make sure you're prepared for a video depo. If it is a Zoom deposition, most likely it will be videotaped as well, because it's so convenient to just press record on Zoom. What happens is everyone who's attending your deposition will be shown on the screen, so you'll see who will be at your deposition. Who are the people that I mentioned? Your lawyer if you have a lawyer, the lawyer who requested your deposition will be asking you questions, any other lawyers for other people as well, the court reporter and the videographer. So those are the people who will be at your deposition. Now, by law, your deposition is public, which means anyone can watch your deposition, but no one usually attends a deposition who are not involved in the lawsuit, because who wants to sit in a 6 or 7 hour testimony, right? So usually it's just the normal people who are there, but just know that deposition is public, so anyone can attend technically. Also, unless there's a court order that says that the deposition is not for public viewing. Why do they even need to take your deposition? Your deposition is being taken, it might be because they want to get information for you, or they want to know what kind of witness you will be, whether you're going to be a good witness at trial or a bad witness. And 3, they want to take your testimony so they can use that at trial or for any other purposes. That's why it's important for you to tell the truth during your deposition. Remember how the court reporter will type out everything that happens there, so whatever your testimony is, the court reporter is typing that out. After the deposition, that will be written out in something that's called a deposition transcript. That deposition transcript will be used at trial and can be used to impeach you, meaning that they can use that to say that you lied, because after your deposition, the lawyers can start investigating if you're telling the truth based on the information that you testified to at your deposition. So remember, if you lie during your deposition, most likely the lawyers will find that out and use that against you at trial to impeach you, or meaning to question your credibility, so that the jury or the judge will not believe what you say. What happens during a deposition? The deposition is a question and answer format. The lawyers will be asking you questions and then you will be answering their questions. If you have your own lawyer, your lawyer can also object to the questions. You know how you see on TV they say objection, vague and ambiguous, or objection, irrelevant. Your lawyer can say those objections on the record, and then your lawyer can also direct you whether to answer the question or not answer the questions. There are particular type of rules of evidence or law basically that allows you to answer the question or not answer the question depending on what the question is. That's why your lawyer will object if you are not supposed to answer the question or if you're supposed to answer the question. Also, during the deposition, as I mentioned, the court reporter is there to type down everything that is happening, so that is what is happening during your deposition. What are you supposed to wear during your deposition? This is very important because how you look during your deposition will affect your credibility. Whether or not the deposition is in person or video recorded or by Zoom. That's because, again, as I mentioned early on, one reason for your deposition is for the lawyers to figure out whether or not you're going to be a good witness or a bad witness at trial, because that affects whether or not you will win your case. So at the deposition, you want to look how you would look at trial. So try to wear something that looks presentable and looks credible. It doesn't mean you have to wear a suit or anything fancy. It just means you want to look credible, meaning look at yourself at the mirror and say, is this someone I trust? Or is this someone that someone will trust? So look at yourself that way. And also, it's also very helpful not to have a lot of distractions. For example, not to have a lot of jewelry or anything that might affect the recording of your video. For example, if you have a lot of jewelry and shiny stuff, sometimes it doesn't translate well on video, and the jury and whoever might be watching your video will be distracted by everything on your jewelry or what you're wearing, and you don't want that to happen. You want them to focus on what you're saying so that they can actually listen well and evaluate you for your deposition. One question that most people don't ask, but it's very important for you to know, is what happens after your deposition? After your deposition, the court reporter will send you or your lawyer a copy of your deposition transcript. Remember how the court reporter was typing everything that you were saying and the questions and basically whatever was happening during your deposition? That will be converted into a deposition transcript. It could be thin, it could be thick, but you will have a chance to look at everything the court reporter typed out and make sure that they are correct. If there are any errors that the court reporter did when he or she was typing whatever you were saying, sometimes there's a typo as to your address. If you say 123, the court reporter might have accidentally typed 132. So that's something that you can correct when you're reviewing your deposition transcript. But when you do correct something that is more substantive, for example, the question was, did you run a red light? And you said no, and then later on you correct and say yes. That's a very important change that you made and will affect your credibility. So just keep that in mind. Also, after the deposition, then if it was recorded via Zoom or by a videographer, if it was taken in person, that video of your deposition will be used for trial or for mediation or for anything else that might help or make your case look bad. So that's why it's very important for you to tell the truth. Your deposition transcript too can be used at court. Basically, your deposition transcript or your video will be used as evidence at trial or at mediation or any proceeding that might be helpful or not helpful for your case. That's why it's helpful for you to know what happens after the deposition, because if you know what they're going to use your testimony for and how they're going to use it, meaning using your deposition transcript and the video of your testimony, then you'll know how to prepare for your deposition and what you need to do and how to do it during the deposition, because most people don't know what the deposition deposition is actually going to be used, and if they don't know what the format or the contents that will be used or how it will be used, they have no idea how to really have a good deposition taken. That's basically the summary of what a deposition is, the what, who, where, when, and how. In terms of preparing for your deposition, check out our next video about that, where we will talk about in detail how to properly prepare for your deposition. Also, we will link in the description below some additional information that might be helpful for you in terms of preparing for your lawsuit or at trial. So make sure you check out the description below. If you learned something new from this video, please click subscribe. If you've seen my other videos, you know that my son created this for me in support of my YouTube video. Please go ahead and click subscribe. That's the red button right down there, so go ahead and click it now. By clicking subscribe, it will also help our channel so that we can make more videos for you and for other people who need our help in preparing for their deposition or any legal issues that they may have relating to their car accident cases. Thank you for watching.